So today we're actually going to use these square roots and simplifying the radicals that we learned the other day to solve quadratic equations. So this is 9-4, solving quadratic equations by using square roots. So the first thing we're going to look at is x squared equals 49. We're just going to solve by inspection. So how do I get x by itself? What cancels the square root? Well, what cancels the square? I already said it, square root. Here's we're going to square root both sides. So x equals 7. But the thing is, with square roots, you should always have two answers. Okay, think about a quadratic. Crosses the x-axis twice. So the square root of 49 is 7, but it's also negative 7. So our answer is positive and negative 7. Okay, you always have to write that plus and minus. Okay, let's take a look at this one. X squared equals the square root, or x squared equals negative 121. Just like the last problem, square root both sides. Right, square root, again, remember, means something times itself. So what times itself equals negative 121? Well, I know 11 times 11 equals 121. Okay, so I need negative 121. Okay, so negative 11 times negative 11. Oh, that's also positive 121. Can I think of something that times itself equals negative 121? No, we can't. So this is what we say there is no real number. Okay, so we have no real solution. When you guys get to Algebra 2, you're going to learn something called imaginary numbers that will allow you to solve that. Okay, but in Algebra 1, we just say there is no real solution. Okay, so if I have a negative underneath the square root, no real solution. Okay, your turn. Pause the video, try letter A, please. Obviously, we square root both sides. X equals positive and negative 13. Okay, try B. Square root both sides. Uh-oh, I got a negative underneath the square root, so there is no real solution. Okay, moving on, let's look at this one. 7x squared equals 112. Well, again, the goal is still just to solve for x squared, to get x alone. So what's with the x? Well, we got that 7. Let's get rid of the 7. So divide both sides by 7. I get x squared equals 16. Okay, and I gotta get x alone, so I'm gonna square root both sides. Square root of 16 is 4. I always need plus or minus. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Negative 3x squared equals negative 24. Again, I gotta get x squared alone, so I divide by negative 3. X squared equals 8. Okay, square root both sides. Oh, I don't know the square root of 8, so this is where we need to break it down. So x equals, again, I'm always going to put a plus and minus right away because I already did the square root. Okay, so I'm thinking about 8. I know it's 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Oh, well, I know that, 2 and 4. So square root of 2, square root of 4, that gives me 2 square root of 2. So my answer is x equals positive and negative 2 square roots of 2. You're going to pause the video and try each of these problems. Okay, letter A, first thing, you got to divide by 5. And then we're going to square root both sides. And anytime I take that square root, automatically plus or minus. Okay. Pause the video, try letter B. First thing I need to do is square root of this negative 1/2, so I'm just going to multiply by negative 2. So x squared equals positive 72. Again, square root. Automatically, I'm putting that plus or minus in. Okay, so 72. 1 times 72. 2 times 36. 3 times 4. 6 times 12. And 8 times 9. Okay, this is my biggest one. So I have 2, square root of 36. Okay, I don't know a square root of 2, so I leave the square root of 2. Square root of 36 is 6. 6. So positive and negative, 6 square roots of 2. Again, let's make it a little bit harder. Notice we still just have x squared. Okay, the only time we can do square roots if it's just x squared. Okay, notice there are no plain old x's. Okay. So again, get the square root, get the x by itself. First thing we should do is add 5 to both sides. So 3x squared equals 27. X squared still not by itself, so let's divide by 3. X squared equals 9. One more step. How do I get rid of the square? Always square root. So x equals positive and negative 3. Your turn. Pause the video, try letter A. Okay, square root. Uh-oh, there's a square root there's a negative under my square root. Okay, so there is no real solution. Okay, pause and try letter B. Three x squared equals 192. Divide both sides by 3. Okay, got plain old x squared, so now I just square root. X equals automatic plus or minus 8. Let's take a look at a word problem. So a cell phone tower has a guy wire for support as shown. The height of the tower and the distance from the tower to where the guy wire is secured on the ground are the same distance. Okay, notice they labeled both of them x. What is the height of the tower? Well, notice this is a right triangle. Do we know something about right triangles and finding all the sides? Well, you should be remembering the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, remember c is your hypotenuse, okay, which is always across in the right angle. Okay, so a squared, I'm going to let this side be a and this side be b. So it's just x squared plus x squared equals, okay, c, that's my hypotenuse, so that'd be the 200. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what we can do here. Well, I see x squared plus x squared. Those are like terms. That gives me 2x squared. 200 squared, well, that gives me 40,000. Okay, what would be my next step? Well, I gotta get that x squared alone. So let's divide both sides by 2. Okay, time to square root both sides. Okay, so 20,000. Well, I know that would be 100 times 200, but I can still simplify the square root of 100. So let's see. Now it's bigger than 100. About 400. Actually bigger than that. Well, 20,000, that's just 10,000 times 2. Okay, square root of 10,000, that's 100. So I can break this down into plus or minus 100 times the square root of 2. Now, if we think about this one, does it make sense for my height to be a negative number? Not at all. So x just equals 100 times the square root of 2. And if you wanted to know what that really means, just throw it in the calculator. Okay, if I was trying to figure this out, I would never say 100 times the square root of 2 for height. I would actually say it's going to be 141.42 feet tall. Okay, because that makes more sense when we're talking about real life stuff. All right, so now It wants you to find the distance from the base of the tower to the midpoint. We're just going to go ahead and skip this problem. Okay, so that's how you solve quadratics using square roots. Get the x squared alone and take the square root of both sides. Homework tonight, you are on page 380. You're going to do problems 21, 22, 23 through 39 odd, 43, and 46. Make sure you come with questions.